There's hope. I always want to spread that message first because I felt like there was no hope, that I would just live the rest of my life in sadness. How could I ever live a joyful life again without my husband? There was just that cloud of sadness that dampened every what should be joyful activity. And you can move through that. And
Welcome to another episode of Threads of Enlightenment. As usual, guys, I'd like to welcome our guests right here and honor them for coming because I know they're coming with a couple of things I deem very expensive, their time. 24 hours has been offered to every man and woman on this planet. And Angela is here to share some of that precious time with us. And once it's spent, it's spent. And so we want to honor her. The other is the journey. The journey is a powerful created. It created her. It deposited a couple of things into her being that we would love access to. That is her wisdom, knowledge, insights, all of those wonderful things. And so we want to honor her and thanking her for she's coming to allow herself to be vulnerable to us. And so we must honor that. And Angelo, thank you so much for coming to Threads of Enlightenment.
thank you, Ken, for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's an honor to have you here. I can't wait to toss this wonderful loaded question to you because I ask everyone this question as they approach this mic and begin engaging with the audience. And that question to you is in relations to the latter part of the journey that I talked about earlier, and that is servanthood. How do you serve mankind?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, it's not how I expected to, that's for sure. I ended up helping others go through really hard things, loss of a loved one, because I lost a loved one and I didn't know what to do. And so I ended up on this journey searching for answers, talking to experts, talking to other people who had lost a loved one. And I found out that a lot of them transform their lives through that experience and awaken to who they truly are. And I found that was my experience as well. And so I spend a lot of my day thinking about people, helping people with that transition or journey.
Yeah, everyone on this planet, once you land, you will become familiar with grief. It's not that you won't. You definitely will. As one of the human race part of us, you must encounter that. And how you encounter that will determine the type of individual that you become. One of the things that we do here, Angela, is to walk back. I love walking back to our beginnings, if you will. And I tell people that we live in certain spaces, we visit certain spaces as we are moving towards quote unquote adulthood, independence. And the first space that we hang out with is this place called a family. And we have a mom and dad and brothers and sisters if we're lucky and all those different things. But in this space, this first space, once we land on this beautiful planet of ours, we're going to learn a couple of things there. Communication skills. We're going to learn about our belief system. We're going to start developing there. We're going to start developing behaviors as well. We're going to start looking at our mindset. We're going to limitation within the mind. All of these things, our perspective is all of those things will develop our perspective as to how we see life, how we make decisions. What was your family unit like?
I had well, there was my brother and my mother and father. And we all were I had a very good childhood, actually. And very lucky to have a good, happy childhood, nice upbringing, and just really felt like life was something that you could, work hard, get a good job, all of those stories that you're told, and everything will work out fine, right? Everything will be okay. And yeah, it was so shocking then when I lost my husband because I just felt like, that wouldn't happen to me. Somehow, I think we get this mindset that, it happens to other people. It doesn't happen to you kind of thing. And yeah, it was such a shock for me.
Yeah, it's one of the lies of the programmers. Everything will be okay. That's not life. There is a degree of the model, I think, that what we are seeing beyond that, everything will be okay. The real model is that through tribulation is where one's character is being developed. And everything is nice and dandy and whatever, and there's no growth. There's no need for growth. But it is through the dark times that one delve into self, delve beyond our limitation. We look to a greater authority for direction. We cry out to someone else that is beyond us. And we are beginning to see that, first of all, everything is not okay. But even in my darkness, I can be all right. As this young girl is moving through life, Angela, she is looking towards, a great family location and great stuff within the family. What was your communication skills towards others? You weren't there in a vacuum with just parents and brothers. You had a school and stuff like that. What was your communication skills set and style towards others?
I was very shy. I was very much an introvert, and so it it was difficult for me. I had some really close friends, which helped, but it was difficult for me to make new friends. It was difficult for me to step out into groups of people. And so I found that a real challenge. And if something happened that someone criticized me or shook my world a little bit, I took that to heart. I was very much an empath, took on a lot of emotion from other people. And so that was a tricky thing for me. School was difficult in that way.
Let me ask you this question because you had stated that the family was, everything was okay, great family and stuff like that. But yet within this family that was talking about hard work and all these things, this girl is an introvert. Was that and an empath? What were some of those situations as this young girl is developing that will cause her to become a shy individual where she is being taught in this house that in hard work, everything is going to be okay? I mean, why would she develop that type of personality, if you will?
Well, I think it stems, I'm not sure exactly, but I think it stems a lot from we moved when I
Hmm.
was young, and it was a difficult transition for me. I started out in a schoolhouse where there was only 3 children in my grade, and I went into a school where there were 2 classes of 25 in my grade. And it was such a shock for me. I couldn't seem to just be able to adjust to that. It was too much. Yeah.
Yeah, I tell people that trauma can be as benign as something as a moving, and it's how that individual interprets that situation that creates the trauma. And here's this young girl. That's why, when you made this statement, it kind of jogged me as to why would that be there in this individual. And so that's when we are going back, as I said, threads that we develop as we are young individuals. And we start developing those mindset limitation within those threads, if you will. One of the threads that we just discovered in your case was that. And that is going to be a part of your life for a pretty long time, if you will. So, as you are this individual that is shy and had close friends, and it's always good to have close friends. Find your tribe, folks. I always tell people that as you're heading towards college and you're now beginning to spread your wings a little further out, a little further away from home, from under that covering, if you will, as you're heading into that arena, college, which college did you pick and what field of study did you pick? Why did you pick that field of study?
I went to the University of Saskatchewan and took a Bachelor of Education. And I believe I did that because that was all I ever wanted to do was to become a teacher. I think from like grade one, I remember my grade one teacher had this beautiful handwriting and I just wanted to handwrite like her. Like there was this desire to, and I loved working with kids. I taught kids music lessons, help them, play organ, and I really enjoyed that, and I think that's why, I ended up in that field.
That's okay. Always love when we can locate the things we love when we are starting out. Music, I'm a musician, so I love music. I learned music much later on in life, but I love playing instruments. So as you're studying, you wanted to be a teacher, you got your degree, you're standing there on the stage, you're screaming and yelling, the tassel is thrown out and you're now going into the next arena that we go to according to the program, which is college. And the program always tell us we head into college, then we get our profession, we find this mate, we get the white picket fence, the house, the dog, the cat, the kids, then we go on vacation maybe 2 weeks, and then we die somewhere along that line, and then that's it. That's it. But life has a way of, my guru had said, allow life to disturb your comfort. Talk to us as to now this young woman heading to professional arena. Where did she land?
Well, I met my husband just before I started college, actually. And we were married in my first year, after my first year of university. And so when I convocated, we ended up at his place. So this is in a very small town in southwestern Saskatchewan called Valmarie. And he had a cattle ranch. So I moved there and I drove 30 miles one way to a little schoolhouse called Cadillac. And I taught there for 5 years before I transitioned into Montgomery. Yeah.
That's a dedicated journey because I lived in one area and drove hours every morning. I remember sometimes it would be beautiful in the morning, but coming back in the evening, I just dreaded because of all the traffic and so forth. But I used it as my meditation time, if you will, especially in the morning when I'm driving. It was my time for me and the meditation and so forth. As you found your mate and life is doing well. And this young girl is happy, is achieved what they said, hard work and so forth. How was she doing though? How was Angela, the woman? It's all great to have those things, the family and all those different things, but we are not who the family is. We're not what our partners, we are ourselves. And we have to go through some personal things. What was happening in her mind when those early mornings when she's driving to school, 30 mile.
I had, as far as my work goes, I was doing well. I was enjoying it, but I had moved into a new community and moving was very traumatic for me. This would have been, like the third real big move that I made, maybe fourth, I guess. And each time I would have to meet new people, and it was always hard for me. It was always difficult. Not that people were exceptionally mean. I mean, in high school, I could go into that story, but I mean, there was a lot of bullying that went on in there. So that probably wouldn't have helped my situation. And it took a long time for me to adjust to that new community, and especially because I was driving into another community, right? So I was working in one community and I was living in another, and so I didn't have a lot of time to meet people for probably that first 5 years.
Wow, it can be a lonely space
Mm.
to be that in both communities, as you say, but because of lack of time, you're not able to really develop strong, healthy relationships. And as an individual, as a part of the human being race, I can see where that can lead to some loneliness, a mindset kind of setting in within the individual as they're moving through their days, which ends up into months and years. As you are growing and having your family and doing your thing, what was it? And I know one of the entrants was your son also was sick. And talk to us about when the beginnings, I call it the bolero effect, Andrew, in our life. It's the little drum beats, and then it just keeps moving because we're so busy or whatever, we're not paying attention and stuff like that. And then one day there's some crashing cymbals, like in Bolero, coming to the end of the song. And so talk to us about those little drum beats and the entrance of your son's situation. And I know the path that you took to get that. Talk to us as to how that came about your son, but I want to know why and how did you pick that path versus the conventional stuff. So talk to us about that.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I think, you're right. When he got sick, then I had to get serious about, where are the answers? How can I find help for him? How are we going to navigate through this? And all my life, there was certain key moments where I felt something bigger than myself. And I was always searching. I was searching the Bible because we had gone to church every Sunday. I was just trying to connect with something, right? And I had no idea
Yeah.
what I was trying to connect with. But when my son was diagnosed with Hirschsprung's disease and had gone through this surgery, he wasn't getting better. He was like 4 years old, and I would say the surgery maybe helped some, but it certainly
Hmm.
didn't alleviate the problem. And so a friend of mine suggested we go to an energy healer. And my husband and I went. He was kind of, well, he couldn't believe that we were going to do this. At that time, and healers were not of the norm. And he just kept saying, I can't believe we're going to see a witch. I can't believe we're going to see a witch. And we drove 3.5 hours to go see her. But I was convinced that, this was this was all I had. Like there was nothing
Yeah.
else. The doctors couldn't do anything. And so when we got to the door, she was very psychic and intuitive. And she just said to him, by the way, I'm not a witch. And so that really freaked him out. Yeah, so I was excited about what she could do for my son, Curtis. And she did sessions with him in person. And also, she would call him on the phone and she would send him energy and just talk to him. And over time, he was completely healed. You would never know that he had an issue. And so I found that so amazing. And then it started to make me ask the question, like, what is this? What is this energy healing thing? Can I do this? What is this all about?
Yeah, it's fascinating. I love history, and I grew up in the church, and I'm also from the medical side as well. And back in the day when Jesus was walking the earth, all the people had was they had their professional physicians, because we read a story about a woman about the issue of blood, and she was spending money going to the doctors, a rich woman, and that was the healthcare system of the day, and she put her faith in it. And the healthcare system of the day was failing her. And she heard about this man called Jesus healing on the other side. And she just heard it. And so she said within herself, if I can go touch his hem, I'm going to get what I want. And so she abandoned, if you will, the medical profession of her day, because there were physicians that she was paying money, but she was dying as a result. But she abandoned it and she put her faith somewhere else. And I read the Bible, you see that when the parent, especially the mother, puts her faith somewhere else, she usually gets that healing. And it is like permission in the realm of the spirit, if you will, that realm, the unseen realm, giving permission to that to work on that young individual. And so when you read the Bible, you'll see this parent giving permission to Jesus for doing energetic work, laying on of hands, healing sick, outside medicine, if you will. And they were getting healed, they were getting delivered and so forth. So there is another way. I keep telling people, there's another way. There are many ways to getting our healing. It's conventional medicine because they've programmed us to believe that that's the way, that that's not the way. There are other civilizations much older than Western countries that are getting better results. And the Western civilization, Angela, we are getting really good results with the placebo effect, but they're not talking about that, are they? So here you are, your son got healed from the energetic work. Talk to me about number one, the impact on you, but I'm curious about the impact on your husband, the witch hunter. How did that relationship work out as a result of your son getting healing for you, one? And then what type of impact was that on your husband?
Well, it actually ended up that he went to her for certain things. And a lot of our family members went to this same healer for different ailments and were healed. And so it became something that he had to, I wouldn't say that he totally adopted it, but he had to accept it because there was no,
It worked. From,
it worked.
yeah, it's where you put your faith, man. Like I said, the placebo effect proves that, and the medical arena has data that people are able to cure themselves from cancer and all these major diseases from the placebo effect. And it's what they believe, not what they tell them. And so there's a degree of us, the responsibility. Jesus said, those who have ears, let them hear. So the responsibility then is on us to hear. And we go collect data like you did. You started collecting data. Now, you told me about what happened to your husband. What happened to you, Angela?
So I started to really want to practice more with this energy healing. And I spent a day with this energy healer, and she showed me what she knows. And intuitively, I felt the energy, and I knew that I was able to access this source and I was able to feel energy. And so I just read books. I practiced with family or friends that were accepting of it. I would just, somebody had a headache, I would just lay my hands on their shoulders and do it, feel the energy. And often that could help relieve. And so it was just, I would say, a dabbling in in
Yeah.
energy healing at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's now a profession, Reiki, and I know that in Asia, and as far as Japan and stuff like that, is Chi, the moving of the energy and touching and stuff like that. So, yeah, this energy stuff is real because we are that house. The body is just a container for that energetic being that resides in there. Psychologists will call him the subconscious mind, and religion will call him the soul and the spirit of the man. As you begin to dabble and you're bringing all of this data into you, you're practicing, of course, and it's always so you have the lab, the theory, if you will, by reading and acquiring, and then you have the lab by the little headaches and stuff like that. As you are doing this and dabbling, if you will, what began to happen to you internally? Because there has to be a shift that is going to start happening to this teacher that's driving 30 miles. And that 30 miles are going to begin to start weighing on you at some point in time. So talk to me as you began to dabble. What started to happen to you?
Well, it was a lot of back and forth about whether I truly believed that I was making a difference or that I was doing that right.
Hmm.
And I ended up transitioning from the school I was at to our home school, which was Val Marie, which was only 10 miles from where we lived then. And so I wasn't driving as much. My kids were
Hmm.
young and I was running with them, and I was very distracted with all of that. I mean, I was busy because I was working, but I also had kids now in school. They were starting to join new activities. They were playing hockey. They were doing all kinds of fun things, and I was following them, and I was pursuing my education. I was taking master's degrees, and so there was a lot of distraction in this time. I didn't have a lot of time to focus on the energy piece, but it was still there. It was always there. I was always reading about it. I had angel cards, and I would pull angel cards, and I was always interested in crystals, and yeah, it was just in the
Dabbling,
background.
as you said. Dabbling, as you said, just dabbling. So now talk to us as to this dark period of your soul when your husband decides, when he relinquished this realm and passed on to the other. How and when grief entered in, talk to us about the leading up of that, and because it takes some time to get where it is, and once it has arrived and you are there by yourself, time begins to slow down. Talk to us about that period of your life when time began to slow down after you lost your precious husband.
So I would say the turning point for me really was, or the dark, dark night of the soul happened on Mother's Day. So he passed away in October of 2021. And in May of 2022, I had undergone a lot. I had taken on an energy healing class. I had been traveling. I had been doing a lot of things, keeping really busy. I had a grief coach as well. And it seemed like everything all of a sudden just came to a head. I was by myself Mother's Day, and it just seemed like I had to make a decision because I didn't know anymore what I believed. I didn't know what was true. I was asking all those really big questions like, why am I here? Why did my husband leave? Why did all this happen to me? Who's out there to help me? Nobody understands me. Like it was just, oh, it was so overwhelming. And I just remember laying on the floor basically thinking, okay, I don't know what to do. I have no idea what to do with myself here. I can't continue on like this. It's too hard. And then I don't know, in that time of just wrestling with it and all of a sudden I just surrendered to it. I just basically said, you know what? If there's something out there that can help me, then bring it on because I don't have control. I realized I had no control of these outside influences. All I had control of was myself, and I didn't know what to do. I had no idea what to do. And I found out it wasn't about doing. It wasn't about doing anything. It was about just being. And once I figured that out, then things started to roll in a different direction. But it was really difficult through that period of time.
Yeah, we fight. We fight because we are coming to the end of our limitation. And so when we're coming to the end of our limitation, this is the biggest fight going on because the floor becomes that cocoon by which we are laying on with the tears and all the floors of many homes have been that little cocoon to hold that individual together. But Angela, I believe we fight the most when we're coming to the end of our ability because we are so confused and it's so out of our realm that the only way to move forward is through surrender. There is no other road to take. And because why? We are at the end of our ability. And when we fight and we realize there at that space on the ground with all the tears that I can't do nothing. I got it. What am I going to do? And when we make that decision to surrender, that's when all the stuff start happening. And I always tell people, I remember, again, I read in this Bible when I was growing up that Jesus had to surrender to. I mean, if he got to surrender, every one of us, he was in the garden fighting with his father, dying. And he says, look, I don't want to go there. And yeah, I guess the father said, oh, you got to, this is it, bro. And he turned around and he said, okay, not my will, but thy will. He had to surrender. It is one of the process of growth. All of us got to go there. And so when you made that declaration and that decision is usually come from that subconscious being, that soul. It is not a mind, just a regular mind decision because you're folding up. When you made that and you announced and you declared surrender, what did it begin to look like through that surrender, how things began to synchronize for you?
Well, there was an acceptance of what had happened. And so then what do I do from here? I think was the question. And I really, synchronicity stepped in, and I was taking this energy healing course, and it led to me conducting or hosting a summit, an online summit. And I interviewed 25 people that were experts in grief. And this experience was, well, terrifying for me because I'm meeting people I don't know, which is my whole big fear in life. And, working with technology and that I don't know. But there was something in me that knew I had to do it, that I just had to throw myself into it. I mean, what could I lose? What could be worse than losing your spouse, right? Like it's just do it. And so when I got that finished, and that was in June, I realized that I not only helped myself a huge amount by listening to all these experts and all these people who had gone through grief, but other people were listening and being guided and supported through it. And I realized that I could be helpful, that I could actually help other people. And that changed everything for me.
Talk to me as to now, because once you recognize that, then we are ushered into that realm of a servant, people coming to you. And then there are other venues by which began to open up for us: podcasts, books, speaking. All of these synchronicities, if you will, began to open and create a space for us to now be used and as a servant. Talk with me as to how some of those particular arenas began to open up for you so that you can become that individual. Because here's this teacher, this young girl, always wanted to serve from way back then, served with the kids, and this thread of servant is baked in, and she is now being used to a degree in this new field of servanthood, this path that she took through grief, and she is now there. Talk to me as to all of those different venues that began to open up for you to allow you to serve.
Yeah. As I said, I was working with a grief coach and she offered a certification. And so in that summer, I took her certification course. And then in the fall, because I had taken on the summit, I had this email list, this community that I had built. And I didn't know what to do with them, but it came to me that I should start a support group. And so that's what I did. And that's been actually running for over 2 years now. I conduct that support group every 10 days. It's free to everyone who wants to come. And it's actually really magical. Every time I have one of those meetings, something amazing happens. And so that was a beautiful synchronicity. And then I started to help people by doing energy healing and doing angel readings. And I wrote a book and I write blog posts and newspaper columns. And yeah, so it turned into all of that.
Yeah, these are the ways by which we serve. When people think of serving, they just think of just like volunteering to people, helping the poor. But servanthood is so much so many aspects to it. As Angela just laid out several, and there are thousands and thousands more. And my suggestion to you guys that are listening is to look into your heart, see where you can be plugged in. And again, especially when you walk through your journey, when you go through your journey, it allows you to become a servant because one is obedient to the process of the journey, and it affords them the opportunity to reach back. And you will see people will come to you because they recognize a change in you and that something has happened. And so as you begin to open and become vulnerable to them, you will change yourself and you will change those individuals. We're going to provide all of Angela's links for you guys to get and find out about her so that you can become familiar with the groups. Buy her books. I always challenge you guys. Buy the books, start little book clubs, read the books together, get together after the day or whatever, that a lot of day, discuss that chapter that you wrote. What did you learn as a group so that you can really, really get some insights and change your life forever. We're going to put all of those things together. So Angela, I want to offer you this question as we're getting to the end of the podcast. You have a mic. You're very familiar. You know about grief process personally. You've studied, you've talked to experts, you've been in that arena. You've got a group, support group. So you're familiar with that language, the pain, the grief, the dark places that one visits there. You have a mic, and that mic is connected to millions and billions of people that are in that dark space of grief. What would you say to them?
There's hope. I always want to spread that message first because myself, I felt like there was no hope, that I would just live the rest of my life in sadness. How could I ever live a joyful life again without my husband? There was just that cloud of sadness that dampened every what should be joyful activity. And you can move through that. And looking back now, I look on that life with gratitude. I see how beautiful it was, how it changed me, how I grew through that experience. And I live a different life now, and it is joyful and it is fulfilling. And I don't feel that cloud of sadness or darkness anymore. And so it is easy, not easy, but it is possible to go through this and to come out the other side. There is hope.
That is wonderful advice, guys. Again, we're going to put together all of her links. I need you to get there and get into her space because, as I mentioned earlier, all of us will go through grief. I know some of that with both my parents died. I didn't grieve my mother for about several years. And then one day, because I was a busy one, taking care of all the thing, working, doing all the different things as Angela was talking about, hers was Mother's Day. But there's just that one day when you're going to have to face that grief. And so many of you maybe hiding within work, maybe hiding within the busyness of life. And it's good, we all need to cope. But there is this one day you have an appointment coming. But I want to let you know that you have an individual in Angela. You have groups of people that she has a support group that has been there, familiar with that one day, and is able to walk with you and hold your hands. Get in touch with them and start building a tribe, man. Get into a space that is safe so that they can hug you, hold you, comfort you while you're going through this dark period of grief within family. And as she stated, there is hope. Angela, thank you so much for coming to Threads of Enlightenment.
Thank you so much for having me.
It is an honor. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Threads of Enlightenment with Ken Primus. Hopefully you're now feeling more empowered to overcome the challenges in your life, whatever they may be. Share that inspiration with others by telling them about this podcast, rating it, and of course, remember to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. For more connection, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram by searching for Threads of Enlightenment. Until next time, stay enlightened.